Morning, everybody. If everybody could get seated, we'll go ahead and get started. And Anne has put up the sign, the don't forget to sign in sign. So for faculty members, if you can be sure to please sign in, either if you haven't already, do so at the end. That would be great. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome back to the spring semester here at SCC. This convocation is just a little bit different than in past history. But we'll go ahead and get started, and we'll start with the run of show with our various different speakers. So first off is our Board of Trustees representative, Trustee Zeke Hernandez.
Good morning, everyone. I was hoping to get some of this, but we'll see how we do it, okay? How are you today? I'm happy. You know, I'm happy. Good morning, everyone, because I'm happy and I'm humbled, okay, to be here with you. But just I'm gonna kind of sideline a little bit because going to sports a little bit because we're into the football season. You know what Sunday is, and there was a lot of coaches that left their teams, if you will, and they were looking for a lot of teams were looking for their head coaches, etc. So I think they probably filled all those positions. I think there were 9 head coaches positions, something like that. So as we go into Sunday Super Bowl, I'm wondering if it's going to be Seattle or New England. Okay. Because we like to see the Hawks win. We like to see Seahawks win. And yesterday, and I think, in fact, today, I think is the deadline for the basketball court. You know, the coaches and the teams. Okay, and for all you, I know you all probably are not into sports, but I am somewhat. So the Mavericks are trading Anthony Davis. He's going to Washington. James Harden from the Clippers is going to Cleveland, and Miami, they're keeping their fingers crossed because they're trying to get Jay Morant. Chris Paul, I don't know where he's going. I think he's, yeah, and he's had his problem with the coaches, etc. LBJ, you know who LBJ is? LeBron, yeah. He's probably figuring out what he's going to be doing because of gray hair. So they'll figure out where they're gonna land, and all the teams are gonna be together. It's gonna be a really kind of a funny kind of a season because you're gonna see different players everywhere. So I've been flabbergasted for yesterday's tradings and then what's going to be happening today. Okay, but to all of you, okay, I want to say, I want to join the chant of thank you, and thank you for being you and for serving our students. Their success is because of you. We admire your commitment, your innovation, and your relentless focus for our students, for the success of our students. Without you, they won't be going out into the world and will be successful with their careers. Santiago Canyon College has not only maintained but strengthened its standing as its leader in this region, in this county. It's proudly we are ranked the number one community college here in Orange County, and we was second year or something like that. 2 years in a row. The recognition is just not a ranking; it's a reflection of who we are, and with this college, and how this college represents not only our community, but it represents yourself as well as the students that we work with, that we are teaching them and leading them on to their path. Allow me to take a second to go back to the first words I began with. I am humbled. Okay, we are humbled, and it's not just me; it's the board of trustees. We serve you, and we have the confidence that we will stay true to our mission. The mission of not only the district but the college itself. As hawks, we will continue to soar. We will continue to soar above the valleys and the rivers, because we are the best. We are the best. I'm going to take a drink of my coffee because I need it, or maybe this. The energy in this campus is unmistakable. You can feel the momentum, whether it's expanding academic programs, deepening our community relationships and partnerships, or removing barriers for our students. SCC continues to lead with purpose. Let me say something here, and this happened a couple of days ago, and Chancellor, with your permission, the words that came from our Chancellor were very, very heartfelt. It pulled my strings from my heart. Of what's happening nationwide, not only in Minneapolis, but happened here in LA, Chicago, DC, in other cities throughout the country, our country. You know, I go back and I'm reminded back in the early 90s, I believe it was 92. Many of you know I'm a community activist and involved in organization called LULAC, League of United Latin American Citizens, civil rights group. But back in the 90s, early 90s, I was state director for the state of California. And I remember during the protests that was happening within the colleges, at UCLA, we went there to support the students there at UCLA on the naming of a building for Cesar Chavez. And as we were in one building, and they called out the troops, if you will, the National Guard. But there was there was a few of us, a group of us, that we provided an individual with our driver's license, all the information, just in case we were to get arrested. But that was the naming for one building during the 90s. Today, as we see those in uniform out in the streets, we want not for things to happen. I don't know how old you are, but I remember Kent State. So we want those things not to happen. Okay, although it's occurred within the streets of Minneapolis. So I need to applaud your campus, Santiago Canyon College, because the steps that you have taken to protect our students go above and beyond what many other campuses have done. The signs that you put on your doorways and your offices, they mean a lot. It means that you are there in the forefront to protect your students. So I applaud you. I applaud our president Kim for taking those big giant steps to do that. More than anything else, what stands out to me is the shared commitment. I'm going to come back to that shared commitment across the campus to equity, excellence, and opportunity. These are the values that are lived out every day in our classrooms, student services, and across all areas of our colleges. We, as trustees, and many other folks, don't have the privilege of being with you in your classrooms, but we know what you do every day with our students, and we ourselves get to we get to share that on commencement day when we see our students walk up and we congratulate them and as they go on and onto their new lives. So I'm really happy at our board meetings when Kayla Lopez, your ASG president, yeah, she walks up there, and although she puts that laptop there, and some folks aren't able to see her, but the way she commands herself and provides us information shows that the type of leadership that she brings with onto the other students, onto her students within ASG, onto the larger community on campus of students. I'm very proud of her, and and I think I don't have a saying for the day, okay, but it's a happy day, okay. She knows what I'm talking about. But if I may, I touched upon what is happening nationwide, and we all pray that we will get through that. It's into this year. We will. It will take some time, as someone said a couple of days ago. It may get a little more difficult, but at the end, it will be a sunnier day. Convocation is a time to reset and refocus, not only on the work ahead, but on why our work matters. You are not just preparing our students for degrees or careers, you are helping them shape their careers. The situation here, I know you're going. We're going to a haze, if you will. But in terms of, if I may say, the board of trustees is together in terms of listening and providing the leadership necessary to listen to your concerns. It's something that we will get through the haze, and we'll have sunnier days ahead of us. As we begin this new semester, I know you will continue to take pride in what you have built together and in the young lives of our students you continue to impact every single day. Is Dr. Wu around? No, he's not, huh? He's already retired. Is he already retired? He's gone? Oh, he's on bank leave, okay. I remember when I first came on board, on the board, and Dr. Wu asked me to apparently before, he used to ask a board trustee to conduct one of their programs. I said, no, Dr. Wu, I can't do that. It's more difficult. I'm more like, you all remember the song Tequila? Okay, well, okay. If I go and party on the weekend, and they asked me to sing out belt out the song, okay, Dr. Wu says he recommended me, Zeke, tell him to play Tequila. If you know the song Tequila, that's the only word that you sing within that song. Tequila. So Dr. Wu, I he's a great guy, and we want to have him enjoy his life afterwards. Hopefully he comes back now and then. So on behalf of the Board of Trustees, President Phil Yarborough, Trustees Lorenzo, our student trustee, Arias, Miller, Crockett, Hannah, Iglesias, and Tong, I wish you a meaningful and successful spring. This spring is going to be something else. Like I said, when I first said, it's a happy day. It's going to be a happy semester. Okay. We look forward to celebrating with you at commencement in June. And we send off, in June, we're going to send off our students to whether they go on to another college, university, but it's the life and it's a career that you have that you're going to think about, and you're going to say, I remember SCC, my instructors, my professors, they're the ones that took me on this path. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. We all appreciate you. Thank you much. I need this too.
All right. Next up is our illustrious leader, Chancellor Marvin Martinez.
Hello, good morning, SCC. How you all doing? Well, I want to, of course, sorry, I just tripped the call. I want to say hello to all the faculty. Great to have you here. All the classified professionals, again, great to have you here. The students, great to have you here. Our student body president for SCC, Kayla. And by the way, I keep saying, you can't have your sister sitting next to you. You guys look too much alike, and it gets confusing. I'd like to welcome a lot of the, we have a number of alumni who are here. We have some visiting faculty members here. Visiting faculty member from Glendale College and a visiting faculty member from Porterville College. So again, great to have you here as well. You know, I just to start off with the alumni, I have the pleasure many times to talk to former students who came to SCC. Many of the students, once I tell them that, you know, I'm here, I work with the district, and they tell me who they are, they do not hesitate to say to me how much this campus has changed their lives, how much this campus has transformed them and who they are today. Many of those students today are professionals, they're difference makers, they're community leaders. And a lot of them tell me that when they got here to SCC, they were trying to figure out who they wanted to be. They were trying to figure out what direction they wanted to take. And they came here and they were transformed and they were changed. And so I just wanted to let all of you know, I think you're going to hear at least one of those stories today. But, you know, this is really to me what a legacy that the campus leaves with your students is you want the students talking about the campus and talking about how much it has changed them. So I want all of you to know that I do talk to many of those students all the time. And they often tell me, of course, how much the campus has changed them. Great to have you here. And let's talk about the spring semester and what we have ahead. I think we have a lot of great things to do, a lot of great work to focus on. Trustee Hernandez talked a little bit about convocation at Santa Ana College. I'm not going to talk too much about immigration. And I'll tell you why. It's a very personal to me. So I'm not going to do that today. I might, but I don't think I am. And not because I don't want to talk about it and I don't care about it, but it's very personal to me. Let me first talk about, you know, adult education. Adult education, again, very important to me, very important to the board. You have a program here that to me is a very successful program. I continue to advocate for the program. I continue to advocate that we give all the resources possible for the program to continue to do what they do well. And they do it really, really well. This semester, and really throughout this whole year, one of our goals is to see how we can move back into the Batavia property. It's interesting how everything comes full circle. When I arrived here in 2019, we were all leaving Batavia. I think all of you recall that. We were leaving it and there were some challenges with it. There were some issues with it. So we had to move everybody out. I remember visiting that facility, which I consider that facility to be like the Taj Mahal of adult ed. It was incredible, it was beautiful, but it was kind of sad because it had to be torn down. So now we come full circle, and now we're talking about moving back in. And this year, we're going to talk about that. We're going to work on that together. I've asked the facilities committee to see how they can meet on the campus, how they can do Zoom, they can do in-person meetings, so we can begin to talk about some critical issues. Number one, obviously, we wanted to reassure everyone that it's a safe facility to go back into. And obviously, the proof's in the pudding. So we need to show you proof. We'll need to answer questions. That is number one. We have no interest moving anyone back into any facility where it's dangerous, where it's not good to move back into. So that definitely would be one of the key issues, and we want to make sure that everyone is confident in going back to the facility. Secondly, we want to begin to see how we move everybody from the Chapman property to that site, because the Chapman property lease is ending, and we need to move everyone back. So we want to make sure that we can provide get the Batavia property ready so we can move everybody back there. And last, but not least, we want to make sure that we do this in phases. So within the next year, we want to make sure that we get the property ready so that everybody that's in Chapman can move back to that property. We want to continue developing the property so everybody who is in other sites can move back to the Batavia property. It's a lot of work, but one thing that I do want to let all of you know is that we'll do it together. We'll do it together. We'll meet. We will listen. But we are in a tight timeline, and that we need to move from Chapman. And so I want to make sure that we are able to answer all the questions that we can. I will be very much involved, and I've been very much involved already, and we will continue to move in that direction. So again, Batavia, very important. Adult education, very important. We will provide the resources so that the adult education program can generate the enrollment that's needed in order to continue to support the district here, to support the college. Second project, no doubt you're facing challenges as it relates to enrollment. You're facing challenges as it relates to having the resources needed to cover the campus. You will see me on the campus a lot more than ever, because I want to see how we work together with all of you. I want to see how we work together with the faculty senate, anyone else, to see how do we ensure that we have a schedule, that supports student demand. So what does that mean? You want to be able to offer classes when students need the classes. You want to be able to offer classes that are in abundance so that students can graduate and they can transfer and do wonderful things that they need to do. So we will do that together, and I'm already beginning to meet with some of your campus leaders, and that will be one of my main topics as I meet with them. And, and you'll see me here a lot often, because I want to see how the discussion's taking place. I want to be able to gauge where we're going here. And look, for those of you who are familiar with who I am, or if you're familiar when I was a college president, I was a college president one day, by the way. I was a college president for 10 years, and I very much enjoyed doing all this work together. And in the end, collaborating and coming up with solutions together, I truly believe, two brains are better than one. And believe me, I don't mind when I'm told that I'm wrong, that I don't have it correct. I'm good with that. But at the same time, we do need to come to some solutions. There's a lot of other work ahead that I think will be exciting. I think that this campus has an opportunity to be an incredible leader as it relates to artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, everybody, the hottest issue in the country, everywhere that we go to. About a week ago, we worked with the faculty in order to see how they can join us in our trips to Sacramento, and one that's going to happen this Sunday when we all go to Washington, D.C. I called your faculty senate president, Tara Kubicki-Miller, and said, come on up, let's go, and because we're going to be talking about topics from credit for prior learning to AI, where really the faculty have the expertise on that. I can get by a little bit, but the faculty have the expertise on it. And Tara joined. Where's Tara? Oh, there you are. Yeah, and Tara joined us, and she was wonderful. She was very articulate. She was really sharp in making her points to the legislators and a number of committees, including the Chancellor's office that we met with. And we're going to do it again. So we took 3 faculty members. This time around, we're going to go with 4 faculty members to Washington, D.C. We're going to meet with a lot of the key leadership in Washington, D.C., from our local Congress members to, we're meeting with the White House, by the way. We're meeting with the person who leads artificial intelligence at the White House. So we're going to have a lot of key meetings. And, and I'm really excited about it because I think it's an opportunity, again, for our campus to be that model campus. And the only way you do that is they got to see you. Out of sight, out of mind. If they don't see you, they don't think you're doing anything. But if they see you, they think you're doing everything. So it's important that we show up. We certainly want to thank legislators for helping this campus provide us with earmarks. Congresswoman Kim provided you guys with $1 million in earmarks, and it's for the water tech program. It's for the water technology, water sciences program. So again, you have legislators who are very supportive. So we definitely want to go out there and thank her for her help, and also thank Congressman Lou Correa, who's been helping Santa Ana College tremendously. Oh, good fan. By the way, just see this year we're going to end up getting $4 million in federal earmarks from our local Congress members. So again, they love what you're doing, and they want to support it. Let me talk a little bit about the vote of no confidence. That is no doubt, I can sense it from here. That is something that it's obviously a very important issue here. To follow along with Trustee Zeke Hernandez and what he said, we're obviously fully aware of it. We talk about it all the time. We have conversations about it all the time. We hear a lot from faculty come to public comment and let us know what they're doing and let us know why they're concerned. And we hear the pain. We hear the struggle that all of you are going through. We're not oblivious to it at all by any means. Having said that, we're gonna address it. Some of this is personal matters. I can't really talk about it too much in public, but we're going to get it addressed. We are going to make sure that we move in the right direction. We want to make sure that we hear from all of you. I have made it a mission for me to be here as much as possible, to talk to all of you, and then to make the right decision, of course, for the campus. It's, also for those of you who know me well, I do think about it. I want to hear from all of you and then make, of course, the best decisions. I care a lot about this campus, and I think you heard from the board, we do care a lot about the campus. But we also know that every decision that's made does have ramifications, every decision. I'd love to tell you that a decision we will make will have none. They all do. So we want to make sure that whatever direction that we take, whatever decision that we make, will be done in the best interest of everybody on the campus. That includes faculty, that includes classified professionals, that includes students, that includes alumni in the local community. Because everybody wants to know what you're doing. So we'll get it done, everybody. We're going to get it done. We'll figure it out. You will see me often. Please talk to me. Please talk to me. It's not you're going through a difficult time. I know it. I can sense it. I sensed it as soon as I got here this morning. And so, we're not oblivious to it, and decisions, of course, will be made. So again, on that note, everyone, please have a wonderful semester. You have a lot to be proud of. You'll hear from alumni today. You hear from faculty members today who are out there making sure that this campus is in the forefront of important issues on a national level. So again, I want all of you to know that we are looking to see how we can support everything that you're doing. On that note, everybody, thank you. Have a wonderful semester, and you'll see me soon. Thank you, everybody.
Next up is our ASG president, Kayla Lopez, who really doesn't need a lot of introduction.
Is there any other ASG officers in the crowd? Okay. Oh, Intern Chu, come on. All right. Hello all, I hope you're all prepared for the wonderful semester we have ahead of us. I'm gonna wait till Gia and Jen and Brittany come over. You guys look very good, very well. Okay. Okay. For the ASG, I want to take this time to thank everyone for keeping students at the forefront of each decision, statement, and process. Through my whole term here, every time I hear someone talk about something that they're doing, they always say, for the students. So I really do appreciate that we're always in the back of your guys' minds. The ASG stands to connect and highlight students' voices with campus leadership. It allows for students to pave pathways to change and betterment for present and future students. Last semester, all of our branches held a number of successful events, from town halls to equity events, voter engagement events, and blood drives. One of our equity events that I would like to highlight was our Hispanic Heritage Month and Dia de los Muertos event. During a time where the community really needed it, we were able to show up. We collaborated with one of our campus programs, TRIO, to put together not one, not two, not three, but 5 Hispanic Heritage Month events, each different, yet each with meaningful impact and diverse focuses on Latini culture and heritage. These equity events were oftentimes led by our Vice President Lopez, Director of Outreach Gia Santolaya, and our Commissioner of Equity Injin Kine. I finally know how to pronounce her last name. They really do deserve a big shout out for their hard work and dedication. On the Senate side, our senators were hard at work putting together resolutions, coordinating Senate town halls, and hosting Senate meet and greets. This past fall town Halloween and our club crawl, our senators prepared 5 well-constructed surveys which targeted various areas of need for intentional feedback to work towards a better future. This collaboration between ICC clubs and our Senate branch created the perfect fall pumpkin patch Halloween-esque vibes to increase engagement and ensure that our surveys got the responses needed for meaningful input. Our court was active in student hearings and voter engagement events, hosting Let's Get Poppin' with Democracy. I really liked that name. To energize students to register to vote and understand that their vote matters and has an impact. Our roles here as AHG officers and everyone in this crowd is to empower students to understand how powerful their voices and votes truly are, and to encourage them to collectively improve their communities around them. All of this was completed in 1 semester. Throughout the hectic nature of everyone acclimating to their positions and figuring out their school schedules, all of the stress and planning laid the foundation for this 2nd semester, for an even better, more awesome spring semester. We're going to continue with the momentum of what our past selves laid out for our future selves and end with a bang. ASG will not be starting over, not this semester and not next year. We're going to lay down the bricks that are going to reinforce continuity for ourselves and for the officers that come next. Looking ahead, we are excited to focus on impactful initiatives, one being our Student Commerce Billboard. This billboard is centered on advocating for and promoting student-owned businesses, which aims to help fund students' academic pursuits while also supporting local and small businesses. Another one of our main focuses is the creation of ASG officer binders, which will serve as guidelines on what has worked and what has not, so future officers can refer to those when onboarding into their positions. This would provide a smooth and easy transition for our future fellow officers. You are welcome in advance to our future officers. To add as well, the ASG is committed to assisting undocumented students in any way that we can. Our officers currently sit on each task force of the Action Task Force, which discusses procedures and possible ways in which we as a community can provide support to those who need it in these moments. It's important to provide a helping hand and be the voice of those who cannot speak up for themselves. We support the resolutions that past AHGs have set up as a means of support for our undocumented community and will will continue to support them. Lastly, through the formation of the ASG Revenue Development Task Force, the ASG is brainstorming approaches that we can implement moving forward to alleviate the decline of the ASG budget to continue supporting students in a way that we always have and continue to plan on doing so. Before I close out, I would really like to shout out the members of my team, especially ones that were able to make it here today, beginning with Yasser, one of our senators, Yasser Raza. Vice President Valerie Lopez. Senator Isabella Luna. Commissioner of Athletics Darla Lopez. She's my younger sister, if you guys didn't know. And then Commissioner of Equity Injin Khan. Director of Outreach Operations Gio Santalaya. And our Senator Brittany Roque. With all of these ambitions close to mind, I would like to close off and provide a sentiment of gratitude that I have for the SCC community. Without your support, whether it was emotional, physical, or vocal, all of it allows us students to continue soaring to success in ways that would not be possible without all of you. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart. Your support generates confidence and optimism in every student to create change and better the communities around them. We, the ASG, invite you to continue partnering with us to grow and contribute to a promising future together. Remember, as Hawks, we soar higher together.
Well, that's going to be a very hard act to follow for everybody speaking. Next up is our Academic Senate President, Tara Kubica Miller.
Good morning, everyone. Oh, thank you. That's awesome. Before anything else, I want to acknowledge this room, every person here, with respect, with appreciation, and honestly, with love. It means something that we are all here together. I've been given 3 minutes this morning, and in those 3 minutes, I want to be very clear about what I'm going to focus on. I am going to focus on SCC faculty. So, if you are faculty in this room, I want you to hear me. And if you are able, I would like you to stand. Please, credit faculty, non-credit faculty, full-time, part-time counselors, DSPS librarians, who am I missing? Please stand. If able, please stand and stay with me right now, please. Last week, I was in Sacramento. I was sitting with several RSCCD colleagues, but my focus right now is on faculty. I sat with Claire Coyne, the SAC academic president, and Alejandro Moreno, SAC Senate parliamentarian, in a meeting with the executive vice chancellor of finance and strategic initiatives from the state chancellor's office. As the meeting was wrapping up, he looked at the three of us directly in the eye. And he said this: faculty are the frontline workers. He said that you are the ones working with students every single day. You are the ones guiding them to their next steps in life, inspiring them, supporting them, walking them through uncertainty. And he said something that I want you to hear very clearly. He asked us to tell you, thank you. He said he knows how much our students are carrying right now, and he asked us to tell our students that they are safe and that they are going to be okay. I asked you to stand because for these 3 minutes, I want SCC faculty to take up the space in this room. I want you to feel tall. I want you to feel proud. I want you to feel energized, because I know there are too many of you who are frustrated, sad, already tired. But I also know this. Every single one of us puts all of that aside, whether professional or personal, the moment we walk into a classroom or log into an online one. We do not put ourselves in the spotlight. We put our students there. To our non-credit faculty, you're already well into the spring semester, but thank you for getting us started. And come Monday, we'll all be back together doing what we do best, what we were hired to do, what matters most on this campus. Some of us are still polishing syllabi, building modules, updating assignments, trying to fill seats. There's a busy weekend ahead. You'll get it done. You always do. So right now, stay standing. Feel the energy between each other. Feel the excitement that a new semester brings because of the students that we're going to see come Monday or have already had the opportunity to engage with and get to know. Turn to a faculty colleague near you and tell them, you've got this. Tell them, you've got this. Put an arm around each other, hold a hand, feel how united we are. We've got this. And most importantly, we've got our students. Let's give ourselves a round of applause, a cheer. From the bottom of my heart, I appreciate you, I thank you, and we're gonna have a good semester.
All right. Next up is Madeline Grant, our FARCID president.
Good morning, everyone. I had something written, but Tara, thank you. I stood with all of you, and we were red today because Santa Ana College faculty stand with you. On Tuesday, they wore blue, united with you. Faculty stand together, stand united. And we are proud of each and every one of you. So thank you, Tara, for reminding us of all of that. It's been one heck of a semester. We know that. We've implemented a new contract that was just a big overhaul. We worked hard. We got some really good raises. And I have to have a special shout out to our colleagues in CEFA. Our part-time faculty had a wonderful opportunity to take advantage of part-time healthcare benefit reimbursement. The district did a really good job of promoting that to our part-time faculty, and we overspent our budget. CEFA stepped up and backfilled with what they hadn't spent, and a thank you to the district for the additional $9,000 to cover that very important benefit for our faculty. And it's in partnership that we do that. We have a lot coming up over the next few months. We'll be outreaching to all of you to get some feedback on our updated and what we hope is improved evaluation process. But we need the faculty feedback. We're collecting that from the deans as well as from the vice presidents. And we're going to be making some tweaks to process. We're not renegotiating the whole article, but we are going to make some tweaks to the process with hopes that we can continue to improve as we're charged to do always. I have to give a special shout out to the FARCID board. Our vice presidents, Tiff Gauss here at SCC, who's amazing and always available, and Matthew Beiersdorf, Jenny Beltran, and Kelvin Leeds, as well as our part-time at-large member, Naveen Canal, and our at-large members, Ralph Castellanos from here at SCC, Alejandro Moreno, and Joanna McNerney, who I know many of you know as well, and our Rep Council Chair, John Zarski. We have our first Rep Council meeting of the semester on Friday. That's tomorrow. I don't know about you, but PD week I have no idea what day it is. That's tomorrow. Join us. We have a lot of updates. We have some amazing training that's going to be happening over the semester, and we have elections coming. We have 4 positions that are going to be open on our board, and we're looking for some strong leaders, and we're looking for some strong leaders here at SCC to help us continue to unite. I want a special thank you and shout out to CSEA and our CEFA colleagues again as well. We had a wonderful union leader social where we had an opportunity to chat, get to know each other, and also to start strategizing on how we can continue our work together and to increase that work as we move forward. Because together we can bring our opportunities, successes, and challenges forward in a stronger voice. To close, really important for us to keep what's good focused. And I'm looking at what that is right here. Our students, right? We have challenging times ahead of us. We have challenging times that are causing all kinds of tumultuous emotions and feelings. Stay focused on what we do best, which is to help change lives. Our students are our focus, and it's where we make the difference. And we know you can do that. Also, stand strong with your colleagues, right? We're here to listen, we're here to support, and we're here to ensure that everybody's in a good place, because a good, strong, supportive working environment, that's the union part, that's what we're here to help you create, right? We want to make sure that everyone feels good about showing up to work every day. And with that, I say thank you. Thank you to all who have shown up. Thank you to all who continue to show up. And I know, as Tara said, we got a busy weekend prepping, because for those that haven't started teaching, or wait, those that are still grading from intercession, right? That's today. Know that your FARCID board is here, but more importantly, your faculty are here for you, because it's not just the board that's FARCID. FARCID is all of you. Thank you.
All right. Next up is CSCA President Tyler Johnson, who always has a great story for us.
Okay, let me turn the microphone lift. Hello, good morning, everyone. I am Tyler Johnson, CSA 579 President. You can find me in the library if you need me. 2 things I want to acknowledge first. Number 1, I've known Trustee Hernandez for about a decade now, so I'm thankful for your continued support for Classified in every way, and for our students, because I first met him in it was AISS, it was the Academic Institute for STEM Success, which was helping students in Santa Ana that were STEM students succeed and do better. Number 2, I want to recognize that President Kubika Miller got everyone to stand this convocation. I had people stand last convocation, so President Grant, President Lopez, you got to do it next convocation. So, and what I really want to focus on, though, is the current environment that we are all living in. It's been touched upon by different speakers, but I really just want to emphasize the importance that ensuring that people feel safe is central to the mission that we do here. I don't like to repeat convocation speeches, but this is what I mentioned at SAC, and it was worth mentioning here. The current environment is one of fear and pressure to not speak out. We have families being torn apart, continue to be torn apart. We have individuals being killed. We have children being taken from their families. I don't care who you voted for, what your politics are, that is not okay. And that creates fear. Our communities, Santa Ana and Orange, have a very large undocumented population. They are fearful right now. And we have many people that are in positions of power to stand up and speak for those that are afraid. And if we are not using our privilege to be able to speak out, then what are we doing here? And it goes down to a very basic principle. No human is illegal. We all have a soul, we all have a conscience, we all have a right to exist as a person. And as soon as we forget that about each other, we're lost, we're gone. So as we go into this next semester, this next year, the next several years, just remember to help each other, help our students. Our students are dealing with a lot. School is a lot on its own. If you go home and your family is afraid to go get groceries, your family is afraid to get health care, that impacts our students, our communities. And so I just want to make sure everyone is aware of that as we go forward. So if you need anything, CSEA at the state level, we have resources for immigration help. We have resources for how to peacefully exercise your First Amendment rights and protect yourself while doing so. So I have that information if you need it. I don't care who wants it, faculty, students, staff, administration, I will provide that for you if you need it. So I know that was a heavy topic to start the semester off with, but it's one that we all need to keep front of mind. So with that, I just want to say thank you and have a happy spring.
All right. So let me just make sure that I'm in the right place in the agenda. It's my pleasure at this time to actually introduce one of our distinguished alums. He was recognized at the state level through the California Community College League as one of 2 alumni of the year. And Logan Altman is a student that graduated from SCC, who is right now the Chief Impact Officer for Doing Good Works, which is a social benefit company established to actually share profits with their social programs that they establish. His heart in that program is dedicated to the most vulnerable, the students that are a part of the Guardian Scholars Program, those students that have been system impacted. And the work that he and his fellow officers and that entire company does is not just here in the United States, but it's also global. And they have started to establish offices and programs across Europe, starting in England. He is also a part of our SCC board, foundation board. And so it's my very distinct pleasure to be able to welcome Logan Altman to the stage for his story of how he became to be as an SCC alum.
Wow. Thank you so much, and faculty and everybody that's here today. It is an honor to share a bit of your morning with me. As Dr. Kim just mentioned, my name is Logan Altman, and I have the honor of serving as the Chief Impact Officer of Doing Good Works. We are a strategic social enterprise branding and advertising agency that's out on a mission to transform the lives of young people impacted by foster care. Now, my journey as an SCC alum when I came to SCC is a little bit unconventional because it began in a parking spot across from the A building here. I was a senior in high school at the time, and I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do with my life. I had no idea what career path I wanted to take, what I wanted to do. I just was somebody that said, I know I want to go to a community college. But as I sat in that parking spot, something stuck out to me. There was parking. And there was a lot of it. And I think everybody in this room, Southern California, know that college and parking do not go hand in hand. In fact, so many of my fellow peers senior to me in age went to other community colleges and they struggled to find parking. But they also felt like it was hard to find classes that weren't impacted and often felt like a small fish in a huge pond. And so for me, that was it. I said, I'm going to become an SCC Hawk in the fall because of parking. It might have been parking that got me here, but it certainly is not the parking that kept me here. You see, my time at SCC was filled with moments that matter. Moments like creating collaboration amongst faculty and staff in ways that looked as me as an individual and not somebody that was simply just a number or another student. It looked like the connections I formed with so many fellow peers that are such dear friends to me to this day. And they look like the experiences that I had on this campus. Experiences like sitting 3 rows back in Professor Deely's class, business writing, first class I took, thinking maybe I want to do business as a career. I came into it with no idea what, but I just was excited about this prospect of business. And as I sat there, something struck out to me when he walked through those doors on that first day, is that he was wearing a suit. Y'all know. That was something I said, wow, wait, he's wearing a suit on the first day of school. What a great first impression. But on the second day, he wore a suit. And on the third day, he wore a suit. And I just kept thinking to myself, wow, he is truly dressing the part. But it wasn't until finally when one of my peers mustered up the courage to say, "Professor, why do you wear a suit each and every day?" And what he said stuck with me for the rest of my life. He said, "It's because I want to put my best foot forward each and every day for my students. And for me, that means dressing the part and feeling confident in my ability to teach you." That's when it hit me like a ton of bricks. It was not about how he dressed, but it was about that feeling of being your best each and every day and putting your best foot forward. You see, so many of those principles helped shape me to who I am today. I graduated SCC, I went to Cal Baptist, got a business degree, and worked for a bunch of agencies until I finally met my co-founders who shared in their vision of using business to transform the lives of young people in foster care. I said, I have to be a part of that. That was over 11 years ago. But to this day, principles like putting your best foot forward that I learned at SCC are part of the framework of who I am today, as well as who we are at Doing Good Works. You see, every day we have to put our best foot forward for the over 1,000 businesses, nonprofits, and community colleges that trust us to use everyday business purchases to create human transformation. It's looked like how we put our best foot forward in supporting our communities, which we've allowed over $4 million back in reinvestment of pure dollars to say how we can better our communities as a whole, with hundreds of thousands of in-kind donations and thousands going directly here, as Dr. Kim said, to the Guardian Scholar and EOPS programs to support where federal and state funding often lacks. And it's also meant putting our best foot forward for the population that we so deeply care about, which is why we launched Foster Greatness 3 years ago, which I am so proud to say is now the largest online community of lived experience individuals in the nation, and now we're in the UK, where individuals can get access to critical resources and be a part of a caring community that they never age out of or graduate from. And why do we have to do that every single day? We have to put our best foot forward because that population deserves our best. Thank you. And so as I close, I want to touch a little bit more on the fact that transformation can happen anywhere at any time, and it's through moments that matter, especially here at SCC. The reality is they're taking place every single day, whether it's a student that's sitting in the back of the classroom and here's something that their professor says that so profoundly affects them. It may be sitting with a counselor and that light bulb clicking and saying, I finally know what I want to do with my life. And it may also look like sitting out in the quad with a new friend from a class that will ultimately turn into a lifelong companion. I know these moments are taking place every single day here at SCC because they happened to me. And I just want to leave with this. From the bottom of my heart, I want to address each and every single person that's in this room. And I simply want to say, thank you. Thank you.
This is why we can be so very proud of all the work that each and every one of you do here at SCC. Again, thank you, Logan, for being here and taking time out of your day to share your story. At this time, I'm going to invite Professor Rita Van Dyke-Cow to come up and talk about Excite and Decide program.
Good morning, everybody. Good to see you all. Well, before I say anything else, I want to acknowledge the moment that we're in. It's a heavy one. Our country feels more fractured than ever. Trust in leadership is evaporating, and our own college is going through many, many issues. Many of us are carrying real grief and anger and exhaustion into this space. I know that I am. I decided to wear all black today because I want to reflect the seriousness of the moment. And I'm also wearing a red whistle, and that's to remind myself that when our institutions fail, it's our responsibility to protect and support our students. I have the privilege of leading two faculty student equity programs, Decide and Excite. DEIA work doesn't really begin in optimism. I believe it begins in reality. And one of those realities is that our students are watching how we respond when things are hard? Well, the DECIDE program is one place where faculty can do the work of supporting students, particularly through curriculum and instruction. It's to support all of our students. It's collaborative, it's concrete, and it's shaped by the faculty in this room. If you care about student success and want to be part of strengthening this college from the inside, which I know you all do, I'd love for you to join us this semester. The application will open next week. The details are there on the screen, and there are many faculty here in the room that have gone through DECIDE if you want to get the real lowdown. Also, I'm very excited to announce that we have stipends again for the DECIDE program. And many thanks to VP Sweeten for those stipends. The Excite Awards are another super awesome thing about being a faculty member here at SCC. And this is one way that we can recognize and celebrate the work that faculty are already doing in the classroom. The deadline for our academic year is May 4th, so you still have a few months, but please consider submitting an application for the Excite Awards. The application is already open, and I can't wait to see all the submissions. It's super exciting for me to be able to see what the faculty are doing. And again, we do have award money. The main winner will receive $1,000. $1,000, right? Okay. And actually up to 7 faculty winners, we will have money for you, $250 for the other winners. The winners will be announced at Fall 2026 Convocation. So again, please consider submitting an application for Excite. And I just want to end by saying thank you to all of you for all that you do. The work that we do truly matters. Thank you.
All right. So right now we are about an hour in. So if you'd like to get up and stretch, I know the faculty got to stand up for a minute, but if everybody would like to stand up for a second and just stretch a little bit, this is your moment. Or you can dance. If we play tequila, I think that Zeke Hernandez will sing. All right.
How are you? Good. How are you guys? You ready for the semester? goes by so fast.
All right. We'll go ahead and start taking our seats again for the main event. I know that a bunch of people made a beeline for the facilities. We'll give them a little bit more time to come back. I saw everybody sort of rush out. So what did you guys think of Logan? Our SEC alums are pretty amazing. Our students are amazing. All right. Okay, so we'll go ahead and continue with our program. I also wanted to just take this moment to acknowledge the heaviness that we feel as a country. The immigration situation is definitely and has hit personally in my own family life, in my extended family with my cousin, who has served time in ICE detention multiple times, and was taken away from his young children, and was in that system for almost 6 to 7 months. And at this point in time, everything is very tenuous. He also does not leave his home. And he was also undocumented and is undocumented, although he is married to a citizen. And so these moments that we're enduring right now are very, very difficult moments for all of us. And everybody has a story, whether it's within our own families or within our friendship circles, or in terms of the broader community, a friend, a neighbor, somebody that we just know. I know that here on our campus, we have staff and faculty and students that are also going through this. And this moment is incredibly personal for them as well. And so Tyler's call to be as kind and to be as aware of the situation, to recognize our privilege where we have it, and to take action when we can, I think is a really important one. And I want to thank Professor Govea and also Professor Sylvie and others that really called us to action last year. And that faculty leadership and that discussion that happened helped us to form the action task force that Trustee Hernandez mentioned. And so I think that through that work, we do have additional information. I do participate in the President's Alliance that's talking about this on a national level. And we have been sending that information out, but that task force will also be gathering here in the very near future. And there are a lot of actions that are taking place right now at the district level as well as here at the college. So again, I wanted to recognize that and recognize the leadership leadership of our faculty and our students. The students have been instrumental, and to Kayla's point, they are a part of every one of those sub-task force groups to make sure that the voices of students are being heard every step of the way. And so that leadership, that representation really matters and will continue to matter. So again, thank you to our students, our faculty, our classified professionals, and to all of our managers that make this work possible, even in what feels like very impossible times. The other thing that I wanted to address is the vote of no confidence. It has happened. I recognize it. I understand it. I understand the pain. I understand the hurt. I understand that there are lots of things that can be done differently, and I hope that you are seeing the changes that we are making. I am doing my very best to listen more, to be more available, to be able to have the conversations that matter to each and every one of you, and will continue to invite everybody to those conversations, individually, in groups, in every situation, in every way. We have a lot of things to celebrate, though. We have our very first bachelor's degree, and that bachelor's degree is in DILS, and Denise's hand went up immediately. I think Mark Counts, our adjunct faculty member, Denise and Elizabeth, who helped carry that as deans. It's been an incredible work of love, and that we have successfully made that happen. I also want to acknowledge Dr. Jeffrey Dennis, because he successfully submitted the proposal for the Water Science Bachelor's Program. And it was approved to move forward at the state chancellor's level, first time at the gates. That's the other thing. Our applications get accepted the first time at the gate, and it goes forward. It is in consultation with the CSUs. We have 4 CSUs that are opposing us. We've had one consultation meeting, and I want to just tell you how Dr. Dennis hit it out of the ballpark in addressing every single issue that they had. It was so good that the state chancellor's office said that what he did with Cal State Long Beach, which was one of the oppositions, is applicable to the other 3 CSUs that lodged opposition. And so they're hopeful that they'll be able to take it through consultation process instead of us having to meet with each of the other CSUs, who, by the way, canceled on us on the same day. And so, which was not great, but we have been prepared. Dr. Dennis has been prepared. It has been a really, really incredible journey. So we're hopeful that we'll be able to actually get good news on that front. I'm going to cross my fingers and knock on wood that it's going to be this semester. Maybe a little bit optimistic since our DILS program took 2.5 years to get approved. But we are pulling out all the stops. We've learned a lot, and we are continuing to move forward. On the bachelor's programs, I want everybody to know that the bachelor's degree program does require an infrastructure that we currently do not have and that we must build. And it is going to require additional resources, thoughtful conversations, and we are going to bring everybody together to be able to continue to move this forward. The faculty that have been involved in the development of these bachelor's degrees programs will continue to be the leadership around it. But we also have to bring in the actual infrastructure of A&R, of a student handbook that's specific to the 4-year students that will be here. And so that's just the beginning. So these conversations are going to begin now in this spring semester. Many of our staff and faculty will be going to the baccalaureate conference that's happening next week. And we need to make sure that we are prepared for what is to come. We are hopeful that fall 2027, that we will be able to launch our DILS program. We're hopeful that we'll also be able to launch our water program shortly thereafter. And so super excited again about everything that we have happening. There are many, many more things that I want to touch upon, but you have them in my biweekly updates. And so if you can and want to, you can go back to those and read some of the information that I've already shared. I will be continuing those biweekly updates. I will also be sending out videos. We will be having a lot of town halls that are very specific to the various different issue, budget town hall, facilities town halls, etc. And we already have some of the facilities town halls scheduled for next week. So I look forward to seeing you in all of those different spaces. And please, again, you have my cell phone number and you have my email directly. My cell phone number is always in my sign out in terms of my emails. You're welcome to text me. You're welcome to email me at any time. And I will do my very best to be responsive. And my commitment to this college is for our students and to all of you who are the front line for our students. So I want to thank you again for being here this morning. And without further ado, I'm going to turn the main stage over to our illustrious faculty members, Scotty James, Fabiola Torres, and Rachel. I'm going to not make, let me see. You're going to have to teach me Tatro-Duarte? Okay, Tatro-Duarte, who will be speaking to us about artificial intelligence from their respective disciplines. Scotty, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thank you. Good morning and welcome back to the spring semester. So great to see all of you out here today and so thankful to have this space. Before we jump into the keynotes today, I wanted to briefly introduce the Digital Center to you and give you a background about what we're going to be talking about today. RSCCD is a founding member of the Digital Center, and it exists to support faculty-led innovation in teaching, learning, through practical support, thoughtful experimentation, and shared strategies that improve student learning while keeping our values, equity, accessibility, and academic integrity at the center. My name is Scotty James, and I'm a professor at SCC and Distance Education Coordinator. And I am joined today by my two colleagues that I deeply respect, Fabiola Torres and Rachel Tatro-Duarte. And the three of us are AI Fellows for the Digital Center. And what we'd like to do today is share with you some of the research that we've been doing in that fellowship. So here's what you can expect today. We have 3 lightning round keynotes for you. First, I'll start off with a brief framing of AI as an ability amplifier. And basically an accessibility engine that can remove barriers, reduce busy work, and so students and faculty and administrative professionals can focus more on the right kind of thinking and really promote student success. Then we'll transition to Fabiola, who will introduce a powerful framework called cognitive bursts, a 3-phase approach that centers students' lived experiences, community witnessing, and synthesis. It's not about surveillance or detection, it's about designing learning that is relational, embodied, and hard to automate, creating space for creativity and joy while still supporting authenticity. And then after Fabiola, we'll transition to Rachel, who will take us a deeper look at something, our disciplinary language. When technology changes, what's easy to produce? The words in our learning outcomes stay the same. But do they still mean what we think they mean? Rachel will discuss and explore examining the language of outcomes and assessment, reveal gaps between what we think we are teaching and what we're actually evaluating. She'll pose an important question. Do we collectively redefine these terms, or do we let technology redefine them for us? And with that, I will start off with my lightning round keynote. So many superpowers are real, and I wanted to just give you a brief personal story about my experience here. And for those of you who don't know, I am an SCC alum as well, so you get a 2-for-1. You get a little bit of a story about an alum as well. And you know, one of the things that I started my career in the disabled student program, and I would teach students how to use assistive technology to overcome their disabilities. And one of the things that I really did was it really profoundly changed my life, because I was actually studying and earned a Bachelor of Science degree in professional aeronautics, and I wanted to be a pilot. But working in the disabled student program changed that quite significantly. And it was one of the things that really changed it was one of our students. See, when we had a student in DSPS come into my office one day with his guide dog. I think his guide dog's name was Gavin. And so many of you know this student, Devin. And Devin just had graduated high school, and he had just lost his vision completely by the time he graduated. So he came into my office and really sort of mourning the loss of his vision and feeling very uneasy about how he was going to access information. And so one of the things that we did was we taught him how to use the computer without a monitor or a mouse, if you can imagine that, right? Not easy to do. The computer uses a text-to-speech technology, and it's really a robotic program that was like really difficult to understand, especially back then. Devin was reading at about 100 words a minute. And I thought to myself when I was working with him that like this kid's going to have a tremendous amount of grit to get through a degree program reading at 100 words a minute. And so he continued on though, he persevered, and months later he came back into my office again. He had a computer problem. And he was saying, look, I can't figure out what's going on. Can you take a look at it for me? And I said, sure. And I said, just hit the hotkeys for me and let me hear what it says so that I can help debug. And this is kind of what I heard. Do you want to hear that again? It's the passage up here, the quick brown fox in a very computerized voice. I'm going to play it again for you. See how many words you can pick out. Devin was reading at about 450 words a minute. Like, wow. And so I said, you can understand that, Devin? What's going on? And I couldn't understand a word of it. I'm like, you're going to have to slow that down for me to. And he was like, yeah, I can understand it. And so I paused for a minute and I'm like, well, because I reflected on how I was like, man, he's going to have a lot of grit reading at 100 words a minute. And now I'm like, Devin, you've got a mini superpower. Like you're reading at 3 times the speed of other students. That's remarkable. And so I was sort of curious about this and I was like, okay, well, is it one of those things where if you lose a sense, you gain another ability? But I kind of rejected that. And so I decided that I too wanted to start to use assistive technology to read and see if I could actually do the same thing that Devin did, to read faster, right? Just to consume information faster. It was kind of a greedy motivation, really, just to like get through stuff faster, right? But what happened changed my life, actually, because, by the way, Devin has since graduated. He is an SCC alum, and he's already also earned a master's degree and is a working therapist. And that's because of all the work that you guys have been doing. But my own really like life changed when I started to listen to these words quicker and quicker and quicker. And now I can read at that speed if I want to. I can listen to those as long as I'm looking at the page at the same time. I choose to read a little slower than that, but not much. And what happened though was not just the speed at which I was reading. That wasn't the impressive part. The impressive part was that I probably have undiagnosed ADHD, and my brain goes off into different tangents a lot. So when reading is sort of, while I can do it just fine, it can be difficult for me sometimes, especially with difficult things that you're reading. So what I noticed though was that when I was reading at that speed, my comprehension skyrocketed. Like I could understand things so much more at that speed than I was at slower speeds. And that seems counterintuitive, right? But what was happening with me is that I was having a hyper focus. My brain couldn't concentrate on anything except for the information coming in. And so it made me hyper focus. And that really made me curious. I'm like, why am I able to have increased comprehension and increased speed using a simple or a simple technology? Now, what happened to my screen here? Talk about simple technologies. Let me see if it's still up on this. Is it the Crestbound? So while that's getting fixed, I'll just continue. So I was so curious about this, and I worked with a lot of students to teach them a lot of different educational technologies to help them overcome their disabilities. And I was so curious about how these technologies supported learning that, thank you, that I decided to go and earn a master's degree in educational technologies with an emphasis on learning theory. And that was an amazing experience for me. And I decided I wanted to stay at SCC because it was really something that was just really rewarding for me and interesting. But what is an ability amplifier? Is it something that, like, if you think about the way I was reading before and the way I'm reading now, I was able to actually, remove a barrier essentially and get access to information quicker, increase my comprehension. But it's not visual reading anymore. It's something different, right? And so a lot of the things that AI is giving us, all these challenges that we're experiencing with AI are very similar. When I first started to see AI in action, of course, as an educational technologist, I researched it very thoroughly and I started using it quite a bit, and it just clicked for me. And I had this moment, the same moment that I felt when I was thinking about text-to-speech and how I was raising my ability to understand what I was reading. AI started doing that for me too. It was giving me information really quickly that I could evaluate and use text-to-speech technology to evaluate quickly, and then remix it, rework it, use it as a thought partner, use it as an assistant, essentially. And I wasn't alone. I found out that some of our students who have ADHD or neurodivergence were also using the technology at a high level. In fact, what happens is that when students are using AI correctly, and we'll talk about different ways you can use AI, but when they're using it in ways that they can help themselves with planning and organization, or clarification, chunking, vibe coding, things of that nature. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of vibe coding, but it's basically a process where you can work with an expert, a chatbot, to help you progress through things that you can't do on your own normally, right? It's just sort of an artistic way of figuring things out. And it builds your confidence. For somebody who has anxiety, for example, a blinking cursor can be a nightmare. And just getting started is really difficult. But when you have an expert there with you that you can just have a chat with and start that process and get organized, it can really help to remove those barriers. And I'm not alone. I started again thinking like, well, what's going on here? Like, what is truly going on with AI and neurodiverse students taking hold of it? And so I did a miniature lit review, and I was like, okay, let's find out if this is real or not. And it turns out there's a lot of research out there now that says that that shows that folks with neurodiversity really use AI at a higher level than those who are neurotypical. And it's sort of probably the same sort of thing that I was dealing with my text-to-speech. So much so that IBM actually has a division now where they are seeking out neurodiverse talent to use in their AI initiatives. So this is so important for our students to get some experience with AI and to see how they can use it for their benefit. But what about this MIT study? And I want to linger on this a little bit. This MIT study that everybody's probably heard of, and if not, I'll explain it. MIT decided to prove that, or just decided to do a study to see if students using AI were actually learning, or if it was decreasing their cognitive levels or their cognition, right? And so what they did, though, if you dive into the research, this is quite funny. What they did was they gave a student a task, write an essay on a certain subject. Then they took a functional MRI machine, or fMRI, and they monitored brainwaves, right, to see what was going on. Then they gave another student ChatGPT and said, now you can write the same paper, but you can use ChatGPT, and then measured their brainwaves. So they probably spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to prove that cheating is bad for you. I could have done that for a cup of coffee. The thing is, MIT is missing the point. They're asking the wrong questions. And let me illustrate this with an analogy for you. When I first started here at SCC, we used a program called G-Link. And I don't know if you'd have to be an old timer to remember G-Link. G-Link was awful, but it was like we had very limited data. Like we basically had no data. And as computers became more powerful, and as we had things like Excel spreadsheets, and as we had things like Power BI and things like that, we started to started to collect more and more data about our students, right? Started to see if we could use that data to improve their student success and see who is disproportionately impacted and see if we can close those gaps. That's a really great thing. So let me, as an MIT person, let me just design a study to study. I'm going to give student A a pad of data from a textbook and a pad of paper and a pencil, and I'm going to say, add up all this data, draw some graphs for me, and tell me who's disproportionately impacted in our student group. And then at student B, I'm going to give them Power BI, and I'm going to say, look at Power BI and tell me who's disproportionately impacted. Who's going to have more processing going on? Well, the person doing the math is going to have a lot of processing going on, right? They're going to be like 235 times 5 plus carry the 1. Like, they're going to have a lot going on, right? But the person using Power BI, they've moved beyond that. They don't care about the math anymore. They're saying, why is this group not performing as well as this group? Their cognitive level has just surpassed student A by leaps and bounds. MIT fails to understand that sometimes removing that thinking, removing that cognitive work actually makes us better, right? It makes us able to do more things than we would be able to do without those. It's our job as teachers to figure out where those things lie, right? Because if that student in MIT's study was taking an English test or writing test and they were in fundamental writing class where they're trying to become literate, that's way different than if they're a grad student and they're doing a lit review and they're using a tool to help them organize data, right? So it just depends on how you're using it. So I'd like us to reflect on that a little bit, and I want to empower all of you with some tools today that you can replace your cognition in a positive way. For those of you who don't know, the ADA rules have just gone through a revision, a major revision, and they're much more strict now. And so each and every one of you, how many ADA formatting experts are in the audience today? Other than Philip, he didn't even raise his hand. We're content experts. We're student services experts in our field. We don't know ADA back and forth, and it's really time consuming to do ADA, but we're going to be expected to have our courses completely ADA accessible at a new level by April, supposedly, which won't happen. That's okay. We do have a plan, and Jesse's been working really hard with the Accessibility Center to develop a plan. So we're doing our due diligence, and we're going to get there. We've got this. So I'm going to give you guys some ability amplifiers to help you in your job and to show you where we're going to go with some of the tools that the Digital Center is going to provide us, and some of the tools that we're going to show the state and share with the state so that everybody can do these ability amplifiers as well. One is going to be formatting for Canvas. Check this out.
Good morning. I have a PDF document that is not ADA accessible. Please convert it into accessible HTML with proper headings and formatting that I can copy and paste into the Canvas learning management system.
There's a simple bot that I created. This is an image-only PDF. It has no actual electronic text on it. And I selected HTML because HTML, when you write it, it's inherently accessible. So it's much easier to copy into Canvas.
Now I can paste it directly into Canvas using the HTML editor. Move the heading up to the top and notice that it has proper formatting.
When I was an alt media specialist, that PDF, when I converted it for students, it would have taken me, an hour or something. It's taken me like 2 minutes now. But what about images as well? Images are an interesting problem. They take content experts in order to have to describe them, right? We can't just send them off to DSPS to have them described because they may not know what they're looking at really. But now all of our images are required to have long descriptions in Canvas without even the student having to ask for them. That's a change.
Describe this image to a student with a visual disability.
Another simple bot that I created. And there we go. Freeing up time for you to do what? Teach. Student support. But that's not where we're at anymore. That's kind of last year, to be honest with you. What I'm working on with the Digital Center is a full AI-enhanced learning management system. We have Canvas here, as our learning management system, but this learning management system that I'm working with, this one does something different. What it does is it actually takes your curriculum outline of record, and you're hopefully using an open educational resource textbook. You load those in, you load in any of your instructional videos, and then you have a conversation with it. And you have a conversation with this bot about what kind of class you're teaching, how many weeks it is it online, what kind of assessments do you want to do, et cetera, and it creates a class for you in 10 minutes, the entire semester, based on your textbook, based on your curriculum outline, based on your personal preferences, and then you can edit that and make it yours. But you're already editing it in the LMS as well, because you're telling it how to create your class. But then it goes a step further. It takes plain text like this and converts it into UDL principles, universal design, in just minutes, so that it's a visually engaging class as well, and it's ADA accessible. These bots, we've been able to work with PlayLab through the state and train hundreds of people to train their faculty to use PlayLab to create bots like these. And now we're seeing that classified employees and professors are creating hundreds and hundreds of bots, particularly with student support in mind. And it's pretty amazing. I'm going to send you all these links to these bots so that you can use them as well. So I'll email that out later. But now I want to talk about and introduce to you a colleague that's going to talk more about the visibility of learning in the classroom and seeing how students are learning and having sort of that ability to look at the process and process-based learning while using AI, or while students may be using AI. But before, I would like to introduce, and it's my great pleasure to introduce Fabiola Torres. I was going to read her bio, but we had a discussion last night about how, you know what, we should never read somebody's bio who's a good friend. So let me tell you about Fabiola. She and I met at an online teaching conference a long time ago. We immediately connected because we went through the same educational technologies program. And so we had that in common. But she's a professor at Glendale Community College of ethnic studies. But she took a master's degree program in ed tech because she was so interested in learning design and educational technologies. And so I deeply admire that dedication, but that dedication is followed up by years and years of her redesigning her classes pretty much every single year. She doesn't sit still, she's always on the latest trends, and we geek out and talk about pedagogy like all the time. And she's got a ton of energy, she's a great public speaker, she's fantastic at motivating anybody that can get in her space. And she truly, truly cares about her students and about faculty. In fact, one of my favorite stories about her is that she had a student who was struggling, and forgive me if I get the story wrong, but the essence is still there. The student and Fabiola connected over her Doc Marten boots. And I guess the student had a little punk rock in her and was motivated by these Doc Martens. And Fabiola said, you know what? You earn your associate's degree program, you come back in, I'll give you my boots. And she gave her boots. So like she won't give you the shirt off her back, she'll give you the boots off her feet to help students succeed. So I would like you guys all to give a warm welcome to Fabiola Torres.
I'm not wearing my Docs because I injured my toe. So I'm wearing my running shoes. Thank you, Scott. She's now a doctor, so I just want to make sure I get that clear. So
So I can't stay still, as he said. So I'm a rocker. If you know anything about ADHD, I got this. So I have to move or else I will rock, but that's okay. All right. So thank you I'm so excited to be here. I've always been, I remember going to Santa Ana College in the 90s and, doing the protests over there. I was at Valley College and I was very active in Mecha back in the day, Orange County and LA. We were like this. And so we went to each other's protests. So I want to talk about this idea of human first design capturing cognitive burst. But because I'm a storyteller, I want to talk about the story of how this all came to be. So we've noticed, let me start with this. Agentic AI came out. I heard about it. What is it? What is it? What is it? And I was at a conference at ASU and the announcement came out that Comet Assistant has just become it's become better. Okay. And I saw this panic and I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? And then I saw it. So then I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to put myself on camera. Okay. And I know Scott James shared it with some of your faculty, right? I don't know if, okay, he has the video if you want to see it. So you can see me while I'm watching my computer be taken over by AI. Okay, by the assistant, okay, the browser assistant. And I'm clever. I thought I was clever. I have a certain format. Students have to go back to certain pages to post a discussion. It's called the Oreo. If you're K through 12, remember Oreo? You have the, observation. Oh my God, now I'm forgetting it. There's my ADHD. A recall, evidence, and then your overall conclusion. So that thing was able to click through my pages, found the Oreo, went back, did the assignment, and the worst part is it clicked that button that said, this is my original work. So I'm recording this, and again, I'm very expression. So my face just goes like this. So then I close it up and then I just think of all of us online teachers. Oh my God, what has just happened? So agentic AI has the ability to log in as a student, navigate through the modules and do the assignment. And I'm just like, what are we going to do? I'm an online teacher. I love teaching online. Okay. So our response, and I should say that when I say this video made it all the way to Dr. Christian's desk. And she was like, I need to call Fabiola. So I'm at home and I remember getting a phone call. Dr. Christian's on the line. She'd like to speak to you. And I'm like, oh, okay. So we talked and I shared with her my concern, which is what's going to happen to our online, courses, the integrity of our online courses. Okay. And as many of us know, we're at the mercy of the Cal States and the UCs in the 4-year. Okay. So, we realized that there was, the integrity was going to be questioned. So she's like, what are we going to do? And I'm like, okay, I'm a researcher, ed tech, learning theory, pedagogue. Okay. Let me start researching this. Okay. And so she said, go for it. So I started doing some preliminary research, and I have a research team, which does include Scott James. It does include 2 other PhD learning theorists, Michelle Pacansky-Brock, who is our statewide humanizing guru, possibly Rachel, because I want to bring her in. But basically, we want to be research informed. Okay, so our response was, we got to keep it human. We got to leverage our faculty. We got to leverage our corazón, our heart, our calling. Teaching is a calling. And I felt dilapidated. I felt depleted when I saw that video. So I'm like, nope, we got to do something that keeps us human first. And to honor our students' humanity, build an environment that honors our students' humanity. One of my favorite lines Dr. Pacansky-Brock said was, we don't teach content, we teach humans. Okay? All right. So our response, we're like, okay, we got to keep it culturally grounded, multimodal, transparent, relevant, resilient, and of course, human authored and relational. Okay? So that was the quest. So we started doing the research. And I said, okay, what do we do? What is our industry? What do we do? We focus on learning. Learning. We take our content specialty, you know, that diploma we have in the back of our office that we love to frame. Okay? We're supposed to take that expertise, put that heart and calling, and present it to our students. Okay? It's very traditional. But online education allowed us to be more human, right? We can do our videos. Scott James used to see me do like videos. Like we went to Colorado once, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty. Hang on, let me do a video for my students. Hi, everybody. I'm in Colorado. Look, a spring. Okay, so cognition became was a focus of mine. Cognition, okay, metacognition. That's what we are. We're metacognitionists. Okay, so I went into neuroscience. Again, I'm a researcher. Okay, so what I discovered is that cognition is not a constant stream, it's a rhythm of bursts. Okay, and think about it, it's that fleeting thought, like, ooh, that's a good idea. That's a burst. Okay, it's a beta burst. Okay, it's an aha moment. Okay, it's reorganization of ideas. Okay, our body, our embodied physically goes like this when we have an idea. Okay, or when you know that moment when you're like, oh, now I get it. Okay, and it's also this, don't get it. Okay, it's like me watching Inception, and then somebody explains it to me at the end, and I was like, oh, that's it. You see what's going on? That's some real neuroscience stuff. So real quick, the universal law of cognitive phases. High stability, low uncertainty, you know, like kind of like what we call muscle memory. Oh, I know this. 2 + 2, 4. Right? No, it's 3. Okay, and then there's cognitive fragmentation, where it's like, oh, wait, some philosopher just said 2 + 2 might not equal 4. And I'm like, wait, what? Oh no, I think one I got was 1 + 1 does not equal 2. 1 + 1 = 1. And I went like, wait, I don't get it. And then you hear the philosopher break it down, and you're like, oh, yeah. So 3 + 3 could equal 1 too. And they're like, yes. Wow. See? All right. What happened there, that explosion, that mind blowing, what happens in our brain is this uncertainty comes together and we're like, oh, I get it. So what if we were to design our courses like this, to allow that natural momentum of learning to come together? All this information, you know, please make sure if you're interested, Scott can send you these slides. But through the research, and again, through the editing of my team, I just want to quickly say Scott was the one that kept saying, you know, but AI uncovered, you know, our own fragility, you know, our own fragmented system. And I was like, yeah. Okay, so it challenged me because I'm like, it's really looking at our learning. All right, so through the research, I kind of came up with something, okay, where I'm trying to emulate that universal cognitive. So it's like the first phase would be observation, and I'm going to give you examples. Then the next phase would be community, and then the third would be synthesis. All right, so let me give you an example right now. Just that cognitive burst, that noticing. Okay, so here says phase 1, noticing, student example. This is embodied memory and cultural knowledge. That's the term. So instead of me giving a lecture or testing them, like, tell me what is embodied memory and what does the chapter say about cultural knowledge? What if I say to them, take your take your phone, and if you can connect to anything in the, the listed terms, how did you embody it? How did you see it? How did you smell it? How did you taste it? Okay, how did it sound? How did it look? How did it feel? Okay, so like last night, real quickly, we went out to dinner and we had lumpia burgers. Yeah, some of you, wait, put it together, put it in your, let's embody this. So what if I were to say the topic of today was hybrid identity? And instead of me saying, tell me what the definition is, I say, how are you embodying it? And I take a bite out of that burger and it was crunchy because that lumpia, was right in the middle. And I was like, oh, I can taste that, identity, that Filipino American identity in Orange County. And I was talking to them. Okay, that's embodied. Okay. So here's an example of one of my students. All right, online student. Okay. They talked about smelling esfand seeds. And the student remembered his Iranian, Armenian mom and grandma burning it to ward off bad energy. Now, those of us who are of Latinx ancestry or indigenous ancestry, right? We have Palo Santo, or we even have sage. And so some of the students were like, oh, we have that in my culture. Oh, that's what you mean by embodied memory. Oh, I get it. I smell it in my home. The copal on Day of the Dead that we burn outside on our front door to welcome the spirits back in. Okay, the souls back in. Oh, that's what it means. Okay. They name it, they connect it, they get all, like in chapter 2. Okay. And then of course here they explain it. Did he AI it? Probably. I mean, the work, the experience, no. Okay. Did he use Grammarly? Because we still have Grammarly on our campus. Probably. But that barrier of feeling like, oh my God, I have to write this. I want to capture the embodiment. Because now every time he goes around, or maybe he goes to another friend's home and he smells something, it's like, oh, that's that embodied, memory that exists in culture. Okay. So here I am defining it. It's, it's a brief learning artifact that captures thinking and context. Okay. It captures learning as it happens, and the students document it at that moment. Okay. They could even be in the beginning of the chapter and maybe they hear they see a word and they're like, wait, I think I know what that means. So here's an example. Okay. Here's an example of a student, this is Tina, she is in her room. She gets cold. She's feeling that, she's suddenly feeling, God, it's getting cold. And then she hears click. And it's the heater. And she's like, that's homeostasis. Cool. I'm going to take a picture of it and I'm going to tell the class. Okay. So this is, physiology term homeostasis. This is an example. But I'm giving you some more examples. Okay, where you can welcome your students. Like, how do you use your 5 senses? Those of you who teach math, those of you who embody math, okay, you can look at this building right now and say like, oh, there's math right there. Oh, there's calculus right there. Those of you who are in chemistry are probably going, okay, I can smell chemistry. Okay. Those of you who are, historians or whatever, you probably look at these flags and be like, oh, I see history. Okay. So what I want to welcome you, I was going to do another exercise, but to make it faster, how many of you have had that are willing to share? So when you raise your hand, I might call on you. How many of you remember that moment where you had that embodied learning moment, where you tasted it, you smelled it, you heard it, you saw it, something in a class that you're like, oh, okay, your hand went up.
of mice and men, okay. Oh, I hope you heard it over there. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So what I'm sharing with you, and this is still in development, everyone, is that enabling that room, designing room in our class for those embodied moments. Okay? Because when you have that embodied moment, the class suddenly feels more relevant. And so maybe, just maybe, you'll have that student who might like, ooh, I might want to change my major, to feeling like, hey, this teacher cares about my humanity, and just might have more connection with you. So stage 2 and 3, I just want to share with you, is still in development. I did play with phase 2, which basically is, for those of us who understand like RSI, basically is you have a platform where you share. I use Padlet. I'm a big Padlet person. Our campus has the license. Okay? And so students post up their cognitive burst for every chapter. And I might say, just pick 2, post 2. Okay? Just 2. And everyone starts to post their own cognitive moments. And what happens is people start to read each other's posts. Okay? And they're going, oh, it's that. Oh, it's that. And suddenly it becomes a community of learners. And even though students only have to do 2 terms, by the end, they have like 6 concepts. And they all put it together. Okay? By the 3rd phase, it's basically, this is the mapping. It's the mapping of the learning. First, I learned this word, and then my classmate posted this other term and this experience, and then this other classmate posted this and that experience, and suddenly the cognition gets bigger and bigger and more communal. And I like this. So it's basically the difference between a postcard and a documentary. Okay? So it all leads to this. This would be, I guess, the summative. Okay? So if I can just quickly just go back, this is formative. This is formative and connecting. And then the 3rd phase would be the narrative or the story of their cognitive burst. Okay? And so here again, I just have examples. But basically, in the age of automation, academic integrity does not come from surveillance. It comes from design. We got to roll up our sleeves. And I hate that I'm saying this like right before your semester begins. But maybe if you want to try something out, maybe like in Unit 3 or in Unit 4, because I don't want to mess up your momentum right now. But all I'm saying is that, this work has become very joyful for me. Last story. My student, okay, football player, and he was talking about, the concept of historical memory and curanderismo. Okay? And so he talked about like how it's passed down on his, generations, but it's like, here is té de manzanilla to help him relax after football. And here is, of course, Vicks Vapor Rub. See? Some of you are going, what? I remember it. Dude, I was wearing a Vicks Vapor Rub pin. And Scott goes, why do you have Vicks Vapor Rub? You don't get it, man. And then, of course, when I was getting my food, some people, oh, I like your pin. I'm like, orale. Anyway, I bring this because this brought me joy. We talked about it as a happy day.
AI is dilapidating. I get it. I get our souls are being, our calling is being questioned. But this brought me joy. And I just wanted to share that with you. Here's the infographic of the process. Again, Scott has access to this, or you could email me. I mean, he knows how to contact me. Okay? And I just wanted to leave you with this. I remember learning about fjords. Okay? I'm not a traveler. Scott makes me want to be a traveler, but I'm not. Anyway, I grew up going to Mexico. That was my travel. But I learned about fjords in my geology class. And I'm like, what's a fjord? What a cool word, fjord. And so I remember asking, are there fjords in America? And then I learned about the Puget Sound. Okay. So in 2022, I went to the Pacific Northwest, and I remember going like, I want to go to the Puget Sound. And then people would say, Favi, that's Seattle. I thought that was the ocean. It's like, so I went deep, went into Hood Canal. If you know the area, it's that really narrow space, and it's just like the Olympia Mountains are right there. And so I remember sitting there going like, oh my God, that is a glacial fjord. Okay. And not only that, I brought into something ethnic studies, present observations of past processes. Where are my ethnic studies people? See, right? Present observations of past processes. So this was my moment. And I went like, Professor Raskoff would be proud of me. See, I even remember his name. Okay, so that's my time.
Thank you. She does watercolor. And she mixes her own colors too. Like that's an old set. Isn't she fabulous? I get to listen to her keynotes all day. So it's my pleasure also to introduce you to Dr. Rachel Tatro-Duarte, who is a professor of English at Porterville College. And I just met her a few months ago, but we became fast friends. I really like to surround myself with smart people, and she is wicked smart. And one of the things that I really value about her is her flexibility of thinking, and most importantly, because she thinks about things in a different way, and she's super flexible about how she goes about things. But one of the things I value most about her is that she is okay being vulnerable about whether her impacts that she's trying. She's vulnerable and she's okay with that, whether or not they're going to work or whether or not they're going to succeed. And she accepts that vulnerability. And I think that that's a really good quality to have. And so without further ado, Rachel, take it away.
Okay. I've got my notes up here too. So thank you so much for that introduction. Now I have to live up to it, so that's difficult. First, I just want to have you guys pause and for a minute imagine a glass of clear water. Okay? You have that imagination, you've got it in your head. And now I want you to add a drop of red dye. Got it? Added your red drop? Okay, what happened to that water? Okay, that's AI, right? And I want to start with a quote that Neil Postman, he's a media critic and theorist, and he's written Technopoly, and it's old, right? It was in 1990s and before AI. He died in 2003, so before AI. But I think his work is still relevant today. In fact, it's what I use to kind of ground my thinking when AI gets too abstract for me. And his quote that I kind of clung to was, "Technological change is not an additive, it's ecological. A new technology does not add something, it changes everything." And when I understood that, it helped me have a better vision and better clarity on AI's impact, right? So that drop of red dye that we put in our clear glass of water, it's not just a drop of red dye now floating in a clear glass of water. It's changed everything. It's changed that water to pink or red, right? It's an entire molecular structural change that's going on. So today I want to look at what happens when we drop that red dye of water into our glass of education. And specifically, I'm going to look at it through the lens of language, because if the water turns red, then the words that we use to describe it also has to change, right? And so he does have a few quotes that he focuses on in one of his principles on language and technology. So the first quote is, "What changes in languages are being enforced by new technology, and what's being gained and what is being lost?" The other quote is, "It's always a serious matter when new meanings arise and old ones are lost." And he also focuses on language will always remain our most indispensable medium. We need to understand the terms equally. We need to know what we're talking about and be on the same page with that, right? So when I read these, I began to ask myself these questions like, well, dang, can we do something about this? Is there something we can do? Can I have a say in what's being redefined in my discipline, right? Or are we just going to sit and let the machine decide what our words mean? And then can we decide this for ourselves, right? So this was kind of the deep dive that I started to take in. And Scotty is right. I do, I'm okay with my vulnerability. And so before I really begin, I do want to humbly request that you guys bear with me and have some grace, because while I'm presenting this and I'm doing the research on it, I am also still grappling with it, because I find some parts of AI clear and some so abstract, and then some get super slippery, right? Like, I grasp it, lose it, and I'm kind of just all over the place with it. And I'm okay with that uncomfortability. So the way that I perceive it is, after reading all of Neil Postman, I start thinking about it, and, AI isn't just a new writing tool for us. What's actually also happening is it's reconstructing some of the words that we've known for so long, right? Like writing, composing, authoring. It's reconstructing what these mean in practice for us, right? So I'm starting to call this the language gap. It's creating a shift in our definitions. So I'm going to stick with some words because I am an English professor that are relevant to my discipline, and I know various disciplines will have their own as well, so you can kind of think of those as well, right? But when I think of composing, writing, right, if I were to personally decide, okay, when I say this, what am I thinking students are doing? What do I think when I'm doing it? I think of that blinking cursor, right? Maybe a cup of coffee next to me, trying to pull ideas out of my head and get that into sentences and structures, right, that have some kind of meaning, generating these original thoughts and wrestling with syntax, right, to get it right. I think that's the traditional definition. But is this also what our students see? Revising, collaborating, right? So what do these words mean now? What do they mean to faculty when we use them? What do they mean to our students when they hear them? What do they mean with AI, right? So do we still have the same meaning? Are we aligned in that, right? So when we read outcome verbs like compose, revise, collaborate, as faculty across the disciplines, are we thinking of the same thinking and labor? Are we aligned with that? When I say to my class, okay, students, you guys are going to write, right? Are they understanding that as the same cognitive act? And if these understandings diverge, what happens to the importance of the common language that learning outcomes were supposed to provide? So again, going back to Postman's terms, what do we gain by letting these technologies reshape these meanings? What are we gaining and what are we losing? And one thing that I started to realize is how AI is really quietly, right, rewriting our terms. So when we think compose, revising, and collaborating with AI, now we might be seeing prompting, regenerating, and input-output, right? And it's important to note, because also we have to remember that some of this is already a deeper, older problem. Our students were already interpreting our outcome assessments and our outcomes differently than from us, right? The way that we're viewing it. There was already that gap. And so now that gap's just grown between students and faculty. The way that I began to parse it as I started to think this is like, okay, so what's happening? What are our options? And the first option was, okay, well, what if we just, stick to the definitions we know? Writing is writing, right? And then I began to think, but is that really possible? And how possible is it? Because the world around is shifting, right? I can't take that red dye out of the water, right? I can preserve it on some level in my classroom, right? I can make us do the writing in class, kind of this WandaVision, if you guys are Marvel fans and watch that show, a bubble, right? But then what happens when they leave? So I can keep that sacred for maybe an hour, but then they go out. And I don't know what's happening after that, right? So I just wonder, right? I'm not saying no to this exactly. I'm just saying, but is it possible, right? And then there's path 2, and it's kind of the silent, I call it the AI silent default. And I think this is where most of us are. This is where I occasionally am, right? I kind of go back and forth between these paths. And this one is, well, there's a lot of things going on. AI is rewriting this, and yes, we're making some changes. We're shuffling assignments. We're shuffling, trying to find ways where we can assess what's actually happened, but we haven't still touched on what's being redefined. We're working with the old definitions as though AI still were not, here, like it's 2005, right? And so we're not naming what's changed. The third path I look at is like, okay, what if we as faculty actively define what these mean in our discipline, right? So these are the paths that I kind of look at and think about. So what we're doing when we're not thinking about this is we're kind of building on unstable ground, right? So we're redesigning assignments and courses, but the foundational language that we've been using largely stay the same pre-AI, right? So the gap is that misalignment between student and professors, and our students are being evaluated and assessed, right, without those clear meanings being in place, especially if we're not talking about it with them and deciding, here's what this means when I say this, right? So I think what we need to move towards is a soft structural change. And the reason why I call it a soft structural change is because I understand that there's larger things in place that kind of, that block us from moving forward, right? We still need to be able to articulate, right? There still needs to be other policies that are coming down, right? So what can I do, though, with this structural change that needs to happen? The other thing I want to point out is that I've done some research, on this as well, and that is the need. That is the gap that we're seeing in research, right? So there's a lot of talk of how to use AI and AI literacy, which is all important, and I think it's very important for us to continue with that as well. But there was research that I came across, and it was super interesting because it pointed out that, those policies like the traffic light or the, red, amber, green, they don't work as well, right? There's some problems in that. There's some holes in that, right? Because it requires students to comply, right? So one study pointed out that in Cambridge University, they use those things in place and they even allow a certain extent of AI, but the students, when they use it, they just needed to record it, right? So they had these forms that they had to use. I used that for a while too, and I started before I read the research, and I started to see the same results that Cambridge University was actually pointing out. Less than 78% actually still reported. So even though they were given the leverage to do with the compliance of student reporting, or just, the compliance of what do we know what's going on beyond that, wasn't there, right? So I think that the other thing it pointed out was discipline specific. And this is where I think, this is what we can talk about, because each discipline, we know our field of expertise, we know the terms we're using, right? This is something that we can do both, right? It's like kind of a soft structure and discipline specific. So going back to Postman's principle, and what I kind of focused on, the areas that I grasped and tried to break down are his questions where he asked, what changes in language are being enforced by AI, right? I automatically go to like compose, write, and then what's being gained and what's being lost, because I think that's a very important question to look at as well. I kind of translate that to what cognitive work are we preserving? And then also, what are we willing to let AI handle? So I kind of built a process for myself that I wanted to test out, right? It's kind of a 5-step, and it's really tied to our student learning outcomes. This is something that I can specifically look at as a faculty alone. It's just an individual work that I can do. And it's just looking at my current SLOs and, the way that I'm measuring them. Okay, that's the first step. And then asking that question, okay, so what in this SLO is being redefined by AI, right? What language is being changed? And then exploring the stakes. And those were the 3 steps that I started to look at, right? Like, what are the stakes behind this? What do I lose? What do I gain? And then based on my redefinition, designing my assignments and making sure that my assessment can be assessed and aligned, right? And then lastly, just reflecting on that, right? Did it work? And reiterating if necessary. So it doesn't need to end. It's not linear, it's kind of recursive, right? So just like a cycle. And again, I want to emphasize this is just what I did. It's a way that I'm trying to figure it out. I'm not saying it's the way, so just want to be clear about that. And so when I did that, I kind of restructured my essay assignments, right, to something a little bit more focusing on cognitive recognition, not very different from what Fabi was talking about with her work, right? So the old center, and the word right should be highlighted too, the old center would be the write an 8-page, 2,000-word research paper, right? But AI can produce this. This is the problem. This was my slippery slope. No matter how many times I tried to change the assignment or give them guided prompting. In the end, I was assessing something I wasn't sure what I was doing anymore, right? That was my slippery slope. Yours may be different. And then I tried to figure out, okay, what's the default center that's going on? Well, the outsourced thinking, right? Students just copy and paste what AI is outputting into their work, right? And then we as faculty begin to struggle on that assessment. That's my experience, okay? So my new center, and this is something I'm testing out, right, is students will demonstrate their cognitive recognition. And so that becomes, my redefinition for like using path 3. And the essay just becomes one piece of evidence, not the piece of evidence, right? And so the assignment that I have them do is like notice their thinking, challenge their thinking, and then claim what stands. And also I tell them again, it doesn't end there, it's recursive, right? So go back again, challenge what you thought stand, right? And then from that, claim it, right? They can do that as many times as they need. Their job is to document that process for me. And I also use PlayLab to help document that process as well. It's something that I can use and students can use and something I can get into to help with this documentation. So my breakdown is I still keep the essay. I just think that I've demoted its power just a little bit in my English classroom, right? And then what I really focus is on student documenting how they're collecting, how they're evaluating, how they're analyzing and synthesizing. These are the pieces that are important for me. And yes, they can. That also means the input and output of AI for myself, right? I have more information on this, but just for the sake of time, I'm not going to get into the detail of that. So this goes back to the individual work versus the collective work. This is what I am doing, and I will just admit that I'm doing it alone right now because my department is a little weary about it, and that's okay, right? But just because they're not moving doesn't mean that I have to stand still and wait. So this is where I'm doing it on my own. It's a soft structural change, and it's individual work that I'm adapting. But if, right, my dream is we did this collectively as a department, right? That means we all kind of go in there and look at what's going on with our disciplinary language and deciding as a group what these words mean, right? Because it gives us a place that is shared language determined by the experts in the field. Okay, so the last thing is I just want to leave this question to all of you is, should educators participate in redefining these terms, or do we let technology implicitly redefine these for us? And I think we're making a choice whether we realize it or not.
Thank you so much. So I do have, I'd like to just add to that Rachel and I are working on a shared project together through the AI Fellowship. And one of the things that we're working on is it's actually an AI agent, but using her pedagogy, her framework, her teaching methodologies built into a bot that essentially works with a student and follows the process of the writing and reports back to the teacher. So it's not something that's a surveillance tool, but it's more like a partner that shows the process being developed and shows where the students are struggling, it shows where they're succeeding, and it works with the student based on that framework so that we can actually see the process and maybe grade the process rather than the final artifact. There's a concept called, like autopsy grading, right? That we want to avoid. We really want to start to think about all of the pressure points that our students are facing when they're facing them so that we can make changes. And so our bot actually was just approved to be built. We are, as the fellows, we're hiring 5 dual enrollment high school students to program it for us. They're earning an apprenticeship through the California Community College Chancellor's Office. They're earning really valuable skills for their workforce in the future and their resume building. And they're actually helping us to refine it based on the student's perspective. I mean, we've got 14-year-olds helping us solve this problem. Okay, and with that, I would like to just, one final closing statement. I'd really like to thank Dr. Kim for allowing us this space to discuss these very disruptive and difficult things to discuss. We're really excited about our work that we're doing through the Chancellor's Office and through the Digital Center, of which we're a founding member. And thank you guys so much for allowing us this space and for your consideration of our work. With that, I think, do we have a few minutes for questions? If anybody has questions for us, I'll run the microphone up and you can ask questions of Rachel, Fabiola, or of me.
Our students, I love it. I just had a quick question because I've heard you talk about the chat AI bot before, like in Academic Senate. I was wondering if that's like available for like use for students now.
Yes and no. There are a lot of things available for students, and I can reach out to you. We can extend PlayLab to our students to use for custom chatbot tools, so we can extend that to you. For other students in the audience, Google, their pro version is free for students for a year if you want to sign up for it, and you can use those tools. But if there's a specific tool that you're looking for, let's connect and we'll talk about it. We can make a PlayLab bot for you. Sure. For those of you who don't know, PlayLab is an amazing company. They have we are going to have an unlimited license for PlayLab. It's a custom chatbot tool that allows you to build all sorts of interesting chatbots for use with your students and with for administrative tasks and things of that nature. The best part about it is they are a nonprofit company. They have phenomenal data privacy. They scramble all the data before it goes to like ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, so that those companies don't even know what data is going back and forth between PlayLab and our students. And if you use the back-end tools, the activity monitor tools, you can actually have your students log in and use this tool and create a rubric that will evaluate the student's use of the tool. So you can really get feedback about how your students are using the tool and if they're meeting your expectations or not. Phenomenal tool. There'll be lots of workshops on PlayLab coming in the coming years. Any other questions? Our students are on point.
Yeah. I have a question. It's one that I haven't really been able to respond to myself, but I really do support the use of AI, especially for individuals who have something to learn and use it as a tool, like especially if like English isn't your first language and you're trying to use it as a tool to help you expand your vocabulary. But there are these challenging questions that people have about factors like environmental factors, like what AI its impact on the earth, and what the consequences are that we face, and I am unsure of like how to respond in that sense, because I do believe that there is no way that we couldn't proceed forward with using AI because AI is in everything, but trying to kind of like rationalize like our use of it like in the best way possible. Like, what is like your opinion on that?
That's a very thoughtful question, and I really appreciate it. To be quite honest with you, I think that from what I've learned, these AI companies are really creepy. It's awful. One of the reasons we use PlayLab when we do use AI is because there's basically a firewall between those creepy companies and us. So it doesn't train the data on it. But as an educational technologist, my whole life has been just given over to ChatGPT and others, Claude, Gemini, because I have to learn to use it, and I have to, the drop of red dye in the water is here. But as a call to action and to answer your point, I think that if you are an AI skeptic, or you think that you're really pessimistic about AI, I think that you should challenge yourself to do one thing to learn a positive function of AI. And if you are an AI enthusiast like I am, it's beholden upon us to do something to stop those environmental issues, to help those environmental issues and the ethical issues, copyright, things of that nature. And to that end, actually, Dr. Kim is having a wonderful speaker come here to discuss some of the practices that have been really disruptive in the environmental impact and copyright violations and things like that. Her name is Karen Howe. And so we hope that you'll enjoy that discussion from a perspective of somebody who is very critical of these AI companies and of the environmental impact that they're having. But I think that the way forward is to help tackle these problems one at a time. Great question. More questions? Of Rachel or Fabi?
I've seen opportunities to like attend workshops where it's build a bot, but like what does that look like, building a bot? Like what sort of criteria or fields? I don't even know. I'm very basic.
Great. No, and everybody's at a different level with AI and their knowledge about AI. When we talk about building a bot, usually we're talking about PlayLab, because you can build a bot in pretty much any of the tools out there. But PlayLab, what the special part of building a bot is that you use your own materials. So there's something called retrieval augmented generation, where you can upload, for example, your textbook, if it's OER, into this bot and constrain your bot to refer just to your textbook and not the internet. That way you're respecting copyright, and your information is free of any bias that could potentially pop up. And it's also much less likely to hallucinate. It'll be very accurate because you're giving it the information it's looking for. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about building bots, is we're giving them very specific tasks to do with very specific instructions and resources. Great question. We got one more from Mr. H2O back here.
I recommend taking your education course to 235. You gotta say that real loud.
Okay. I'm getting commission now for this. This past semester, I took the Education 235 with the AI for Educators, and I learned about making a chat bot. For you, it's very ominous. It's basically like you are making a coach for your students that they carry in their pocket. So when they're doing like a worksheet or a homework assignment, you create a little chatbot, which isn't that hard to do. And it's like they have questions, they can ask the chatbot and it'll guide them how to solve or do whatever the assignment is. So they have 24 access to you, even though you're not there, basically. It's a great program to learn chatbot. And if I can do it, and if Dr. Nala can do it, you can do it too. All right, so take that class, Education 235, and I'm getting residuals off of this.
Checks in the mail. Some of my star students there. Yeah, Education 235, Artificial Intelligence for Educators. It's not just for teachers, for any educator. I even had a student take it. It was phenomenal. And yeah, thank you for that plug.
Hey, I was one of those students in the class too, so this is a double plug for that. But I also want to take it down a notch because you guys are like way up here on AI. And I think the reason we're not hearing a lot of questions out there is because a lot of people way down here, like, what is a chatbot? And I think when you're offering like how to build your own Play Lab chatbot, there's people that are down here like, how do I just get my students to not cheat on every assignment? I think that's the question people are afraid to ask, and students, sorry, that's what we have to deal with, to be real. How would you address that?
That's a great question. I think that, again, we all have different levels of experience with AI. I think I'll like ask one of my fellow panelists to see if they want to give you some feedback, because Fabiola is really good at this.
Maybe it's the branding and the messaging. Is she hearing me? Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I can't see. Okay. So I'm starting to use words like, let's bring back the joy in teaching. Let's amplify our corazón, our heart, in our teaching. Because just like the presentation I did, is that ability to quote unquote stop the cheating happens in the course design. It's back on us. And the thing is this, do you guys use Keenan trainings for HR? Okay. So much fun. When we do those, guess what most of us are doing? We're playing the video, we're walking around, we're not doing anything, and we're like, hey, do you know the answer to number 3? Sorry, HR, that's not happening, okay? But it's like this, it's our human nature. When something that we're doing does not make sense, it's taking up too much cognitive overload, and we just simply, that teacher, I don't feel like that teacher cares for me. You know, it starts to happen more, okay? Now, those of us who love what we do, and we still, like when I saw the agentic AI take over mine, I lost it. I was like in tears, okay? But it does take time to redesign. And people, okay, fellows like ourselves, we do have to change the messaging of let's bring back the joy. That solutions are there because we're experts in our field. And we have to connect to the love and the calling of our teaching to find the energy in that labor, to be able to trust that Scott James has your back, okay? That he will, provide you the support to find that connection between the love of teaching, that calling, and the skill set that we need so that our teaching is amplified and coexisting with AI. So you're right. I think you have a point about like when we say, oh, build a bot. I'm now starting to say, let's put an engine to our heart. Okay. And I always show this funny video of me. I wrote a song for my sister because I love her. I don't know shit about, I'm sorry. I don't know anything about music, but I wrote her a song with lyrics that I put together with pictures. And she's like, oh my God, Fabi, this is beautiful. And I'm like, well, who built it? Did AI or my heart? And it's like, well, both. Okay. So that model we have to start, implementing in our messaging for our faculty. Because it's scary. Like, bot, what? Okay, so we really got to put in that heart for teaching, that heart, that love back into the messaging and amplify that love so that the students like, yeah, I want to take that. At the end, they can say, thank you for that class. I really enjoyed it. So that's my answer. I mean, that's philosophical, very ethnic studies, very corazón, and but there's theory behind it. So, is that good? Okay.
I'd also add to that if you're curious about AI, and I would never suggest that anybody use AI, but if they don't want to, especially for the environmental reasons and things of that nature,
but I think that we need to understand it in order to respond to what's going on and how our students are using it. So finding out what custom chatbots are, finding out how people are using them is a good pursuit for teachers, just to understand from at least a fundamental perspective.
Thank you. It's not as much as a question of, but sharing what's on my mind, and I think it's on maybe a lot of faculty members' minds, is this idea of where we've been and the red dye in the water, where we're at now, and that corazon of that joy, find the joy, and it's on us to redefine and re-prescribe how we're teaching, and then that answers the cheating question. And I think if you're in education, you have that joy, and I'm like, wow, I'm so motivated. And then I'm going, where the hell do I find the time to do this? And then I think, does that mean because that red dye has filled the water already, and I genuinely haven't had the time to take that class and to investigate that, what am I not doing well right now for my students? And that's causing a lot of anxiety in me. And so there's that space that I think we're at, and I just wanted to put a name to that because I think it's very important. I know I'm feeling it. Am I not the teacher that I thought I've always been because of that red dot? That red dye is in the water right now, and I don't have the time because I've got to teach all the classes, and then I'm teaching intercession, and then I'm teaching summer. When do I put that in?
To answer your question, like just we're a community and we're all specialists, right? We don't do everything. We need each other to do anything, essentially. I once read a story about a man that tried to build a toaster, just a regular toaster by himself, doing every single component himself, like including mining the metals. And it brings back the difficulty of him trying to make this simple toaster, like a $20 item or whatever. And the struggles that he went through trying to do that was basically telling us that we are a community that needs to work together. And I think that a community of practice can really help because Fabi's got something she can give you, and I've got something I can give you. And, like all of your community can have something that they can give you, and maybe we share the work and we share that load with each other. But I think it's okay to feel vulnerable, and I think it's okay to feel and give ourselves some grace and time in order to figure this out.
I'm curious to know if there are updated MLA APA Chicago guidelines on citing using AI agents like ChatGPT, because of course when the internet came about and we had to learn and adapt how we cite YouTube videos, streaming music, websites, and it's clear that AI is here to stay. And if we're going to allow AI to be used, then I think that there needs to be some type of citation rules and guidelines so that we are at least retaining some semblance of academic integrity.
Rachel, you want to cover that one? Get our English professor here.
I do require my students to cite any MLA use along with a form explaining how they use it and why they chose to accept or reject any part of the AI, which they don't do, even though I openly say you can use AI, here's what I want you to do. And I also ask them to provide that in their works cited page. And so probably some of you have looked out there and researched, like Googled how do you cite MLA or APA, Chicago, if you use AI. I don't know if there's a formal citation format that MLA has come out with. I know it's probably in the works, or I've heard talk of it being in the works, but I haven't kept up with that. But there are ways to cite that going on. And I think I pulled mine from Harvard's guideline on that, right? And it was something like the question you prompted into AI, the link of the conversation, and then the model that you're using as well. So I know there's a format out there, but I don't know if it's completely solidified as the official format. Like I said, I just kind of used, and if someone knows, please correct. I just used what Harvard was using, right? They're a top school, they're Ivy League.
There's an email that went out from the SAC Academic Senate on AI syllabus recommendations in Thrive Center language, and it shows examples of citing the use of AI. So that's out there. So look for that email.
One more. Have time for another question? I think there was one in the back here. Oh.
Thank you, and thank you to all the presenters here today. Fabiola, I also watercolor. It's more of a comment that was made earlier about a lot of faculty don't know how to use chatbots in their courses, and I think that's a fair statement to make, because I think it is true. A lot of faculty haven't built chatbots and don't know about PlayLab. But I will say that if you have the time, and it does take time to learn and how to program your chatbot and how to feed it references, it's time consuming. But I think once you get over that and you build your chatbot specifically for your course and for a specific skill that students are supposed to learn, it's like, wow. And it'll overcome that fear of students are cheating and they're using AI to submit assignments. So an example that I can give you is I've created several chatbots to help students write SMART goals. And SMART goals for ESL, I teach ESL, it's difficult. It is not easy, like just as it isn't easy to teach them how to write a compound sentence, right? When they have to write SMART goals, it's like it's complex for them because they're learning in a different language, and now they have to articulate a SMART goal. So I did create a chatbot so that students could write their SMART goals, and the relief after showing them how to use a chatbot, because I do integrate my chatbots in my course, in the modules, it was just incredible and phenomenal. And I had them copy and paste their thought process as part of this assignment submission, and it's a game changer for students. And I think that when we integrate those chatbots into our courses, it's going to alleviate that pressure point of students are not being authentic in their coursework. They're not demonstrating authorship in what they're submitting. But I think that when we bring them together, when we combine technology with student learning, it's going to make a difference not just for the student, but also for you, knowing that you have taught them well, you have taught them how to think critically and how to use technology, because they are going into the workforce having to know these skills. And one last thing, I had my nephew over at my house, and he was doing his homework. Okay, doing his homework because, he was doing like finals, whatever. And I walked in on him and I could see he had like the screen all blacked out, and he was like, I knew exactly what he was doing. He was using a chatbot to do his homework. And I'm like, oh, Jonathan, you're using AI. And he's like, no, Theopathy, no. And he kind of, he explained that, like he was on a time crunch and, needed to use AI to finish his work. And I thought, fair enough. I understand that he was under a lot of pressure, but just know that high school students, when they come here to community college, they're coming in using AI. And they're in high school, I have nieces, that are in high school. So just be aware that they're one step ahead, but we can also be 2 steps ahead. So that's it.
Thank you. Yeah, great points. Thank you so much for that perspective. I'd like to add to that, AI it can be super helpful for our students to meet them where they are at. It speaks 140 different languages, and it can translate, it can conceptualize, it can help students. And, my daughter taught me a feature about ChatGPT, and she also taught me that not all students cheat. And I think that the default that we should give to our students is that they are being honest, but we need to still also evaluate their coursework, right, critically. And so, like my daughter, she was using ChatGPT, but I'm like, oh, how are you using it? Because I was just curious, because she's in college now. She goes, well, I put it on study mode, and it really helped me to, study this biology concept that I was struggling with. And I'm like, it has a study mode? Because they just enabled that. And I'm like, oh yeah, so sometimes students that are really interested in learning use these tools appropriately and really get some benefit out of them. And I think with that, I just want to plug one more thing. I do have a community of practice starting, and Amanda sent it out in our regular professional development flyer, and it's also in the professional development gateway. These are AI regular meetings that I do every couple of weeks, and I have 0 topics. Come in, we'll have a discussion, whatever you guys want to talk about, we'll work it out together. We will support each other, and if there's nothing to talk about, I'll show you how to use it to create a bot. All right, thank you so much.
So much. I just want to give another warm round of applause to our 3 faculty members for coming and sharing all of this wonderful information, and our students for the very thoughtful questions. I know you all have been sitting for a long time, but you are going to want to hear our last and final speaker, Sarah Gaska, who is our current student. She is phenomenal. She is a NASA intern. She is a geology student. She has plans to go very, very far and to be able to do the work that she's doing. And her story, I think, is the inspiration that we all need to make sure that we have a joyful and happy semester. So Sarah, come on up.
Thank you. When we think of a flower in bloom, we often admire it for its beauty, its grace, and its resilience. But it's not often that we take a moment to stop and think about what it took for that flower to reach the sunlight and bloom. Every flower begins as a fragile seed, unseen, uncertain, and buried in the dark. And some are planted in rich, nourishing soil with gentle rains and steady sunlight. But other seeds are grown in rocky ground where water is scarce and they twist and turn, trying to catch a ray of sun. Some seedlings struggle to sprout through that rocky soil, and some break through but bend and break, trying to get a drink of water or feel the warmth of the sun. And for some, that's enough to stop them from growing altogether. And I was one of those struggling seedlings. My early years were not the kind of gentle spring that you would hope for a child. My mother struggled with substance abuse and was unable to provide for me and my 2 younger brothers. And many nights, the ground beneath me changed more often than the seasons. The soil was dry and rocky, and one day my sister, around 20 years my senior, decided to repot us with my father across the country, in the hopes that we would have softer soil, access to water, and sunshine. And while the soil was softer, we found out quickly that this environment was lacking in sunlight, the kind that comes from safety or love. My father was there, but not in the way that a child would hope for. In that house, the only thing that grew within me was fear. I learned how to live in the shadows of anger, addiction, and survival. I found fleeting rays of sun in school through extracurriculars like marching band, French club, and mock trial. And those rays of sun disappeared as soon as I returned home. But part of me refused to give up, because even the smallest seedling knows that darkness is only temporary. And if it can push through just a little higher, there's sun waiting on the other side. At 18, I fled my house and finally began to sprout through the soil. I tried balancing living on my own, working full-time, and attending college. And even though I had escaped to a new environment, those dark, looming shadows followed me. And as a first-generation student, I wanted to grow so badly. But the soil I came from was still clinging to my roots. The trauma, instability, and constant fight to survive just doesn't disappear when you're repotted. Eventually, that clinging soil became too heavy, and I had to trim myself back in order to survive. And just like that, I was an 18-year-old college dropout. I began working a job as a waitress and eventually shifted to law enforcement, a job I secured through a fellow waitress. And it seemed like the best path for me to grow at the time, as I knew I didn't want to be a waitress the rest of my life. I worked in law enforcement thinking that a little sprout like me, who has seen all different types of soils, could help sprouts of all varieties. And in those 5 years I did. and I realized that the job was a constant reminder of the cold environment that I had always known. The world around me became darker. Tainted soil still clung to my roots. Sunlight was dim, and there was no water. It was not enough to live off of, and at age 28, about 2 years ago, I began to believe that maybe I wasn't meant to bloom at all. And even when everything around me was telling me that I couldn't make it, I still wanted to bloom, and I didn't care how hard the soil was or how little light I had. I just wanted to have a chance. I replanted myself one more time here at SCC, and finally that chance was given. When I found this campus, it was shining with light. That light was school counselors like Maria Chaidez, Maria Rodriguez, Bernice Mosqueda, Jessica Ochoa, Dr. Z. That light was also professors like Angela and Vanessa, who are in the geology and geography departments, and showing up for their students despite low enrollment and dropped courses. That light was professors like Marcelo Pimentel, who taught me how to see past fallacious statements, how to use critical thinking, and learning about virtue ethics. That was light like professors like Anna Barbara, who provided me literature to best support my 2 Latino daughters at home as a white mother. And Delia, who wears about 100 hats, but still manages to show up for her students with a smile on your face. And so many others who refused to let me continue living in the shade like I had always known. They didn't just hand me the resources to grow, they trimmed back the weeds that were smothering me and let the sun shine directly down upon me. They gave me hope that I would bloom. I had the will to grow, the strength to push through, and now I finally had sunlight from campus and mentors who believed in this little seedling. But growth takes more than foundation and willpower and warmth, it takes nourishment too. And that now rich soil and warmth, I was still missing something, a drink of water. And that water came in the form of SCC resources on campus, such as the library, which provides a safe space for students like me to study. The CDC, who gave me a job on campus when my husband was laid off, and they watch my girls while I go to class. That was like the STEM Success Center for providing students like me STEM opportunities. The Hawk's Nest, who helped me feed my family when my husband was laid off. The Suicide Loss Support Group, who helps me navigate the loss of my brother. Mesa and Trio for Future Teachers, for giving me a space to exist in STEM. Security Campus for keeping us safe, and Maintenance for keeping our campus beautiful. Donors like you, some of you who have made my degree at Cal State Fullerton a possibility. Mentorship, undergraduate resources, and many more. These are the drops of water that keep students like me alive when we are still learning how to stand tall. You are the water, the final ingredient that I needed to bloom, and I'm proud to say that I'm coming up on my last semester as a first-generation student. I'm a wife to I am a wife to a husband who has a green thumb, and a mother to 4-year-old beautiful twin girls who love to stop and smell the roses. I'm a full-time student, and I work hard to maintain almost a 3.9 GPA, and it turns out that rocky soil wasn't so bad after all. I decided to keep staring at rocks, just like the ones I sprouted next to, and I majored in geology. And after all, I think I collected about 1,000 different rocks along my journey. And now that I knew that reaching for the sunlight was possible, I decided to reach for the stars. I have been working with NASA for over a year now, and I am a mentor in a program called Le Space, and I mentor young students in an aerospace a mission concept academy, and my specialty is planetary geology. And I'm happy to announce that I'll be going to Maryland this summer to work on the SWIFO L1 satellite, which is the first ever 24/7 sun-observing satellite at NASA Goddard this summer. I have not just bloomed, but I've planted seeds in clubs like Geo Club, the SCC Youth Mappers chapter, SCC Autobahn chapter, Mesa, Trio, Esports, and of course the Native Plant Garden. With the right combination of resources, perseverance turns into possibility. And my story might sound compelling, but it truly echoes the experiences of so many of us at SCC and likely many of you in the crowd today. This place is full of flowers that we're told they were never supposed to bloom, yet look around, we are blooming anyways. SCC is a garden that is tended to by the gentle hands of the people on this campus who help create the conditions for life to flourish. And today I stand here not as a survivor of my past, but living proof that what happens here matters.
Thank you. Oh, you're absolutely amazing. I think that was worth waiting for, yes? What happens here does matter. I'm going to switch this slide to the opportunity drawing numbers, and that is our final slide. Welcome to the spring semester 2026. This whole thing has been recorded. We will get it out to folks if you want to re-listen to anything that you've heard today. Have a wonderful spring semester. Thunder.